I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are in big trouble. I know I just made a video about them a couple days ago in which I kind of had the similar conclusion, but they've lost 3 games in a row. They're now under 500. Their schedule is really, really tough for the foreseeable future. And this is a team that is in a really rough spot in the Western Conference. I mean, literally, 2 games away from making the NBA Finals last season, and now I'm seriously concerned that they're not anything more than a first-round playoff team. I mean, this is quickly going very south for Minnesota, and I would be super duper worried if I was a Timberwolves fan about the future of this team, at least this season. And so I know I just made a video on it, but I want to talk about it some more in this video. And so before we hop into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Help me push towards the 1,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I'm uploading every single day, multiple videos a day. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Trying to get this channel monetized. So again, if y'all haven't already, make sure y'all subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. And let's talk about tonight's game. So a loss to the Rockets, 117-111 in overtime at home. Admittedly, the Rockets are a very good team that is playing really, really well in the Western Conference. But I'm really worried about this Timberwolves team because they have to find a way to start winning some of these games. Otherwise, they could very quickly find themselves falling behind in the Western Conference. And I'm truly thinking, look, at the end of the day, I think this all starts with trading Karl-Anthony Towns. This team is not as good without Cat, plain and simple. And I mean, Julius Randle's been good this year. Donte DiVincenzo has not been good, but I feel like he's a good addition as well. And yet things are just clearly worse for this team on both ends of the court. They're not as good defensively. They don't look as good offensively, in all honesty. And the crazy thing is Anthony Edwards is playing literally the most efficient basketball of his career by far. He is shooting 40-something% from 3 on over 11 attempts a game, having an unbelievable shooting season to start the year. And look, yes, he was only 3 of 12 from 3 tonight, but he had 29 points, 10 rebounds, was a huge piece again in a tough loss. And look, I think it all boils down to, at the end of the day, Rudy Gobert is not great offensively. He limits your offense, plain and simple, and he's having really the worst offensive season of his career, in my opinion. His usage is even lower than it's ever been, and he's never been a high usage guy in the first place. But he's just almost a non-factor on the offensive end of the court, and I don't feel like he's helping this team much in that aspect. And honestly, the biggest issue for this team to this point in the season is actually Jaden McDaniels, I think, and Donte DiVincenzo to a lesser extent. But Jaden McDaniels has been over the Timberwolves with Jaden McDaniels off the court have been over 13 points better per 100 possessions than when Jaden McDaniels is on the court, which is one of the worst marks in the entire league. He just has not been good offensively at all this season, shooting less than 32% from 3. And defensively, he hasn't been quite the same either this year. And I feel like the defensive fall off from Jaden McDaniels has been a big contributor to the questionability of this defense to this point in the season. And I mean, Mike Conley's been hurt the last couple of games. He's missed their last 3 games, but he will be back very soon. I think he was a game time decision for tonight's game against the Rockets. But the problem is, I don't feel like Mike Conley's the same player he used to be. I mean, when you look at the numbers of this team, I get multiple guys are underperforming, but Conley's shooting 27% from inside the 3-point line this season. Just atrociously awful. I know the 3-point percentage is still not horrible, under 34%, but he's 37 years old. He's not the player he once was at all as a scorer. Look, he's still a very high assist, low turnover guy, which is important. He's a very, very capable playmaker for a team that's in need of playmaking, because as great as Anthony Edwards is, his biggest flaw is his inability to be a high-level playmaker for his teammates. He's still not an elite passer. He turns the ball over too much. His assist-turnover ratio is nearly even. It's just not good enough in that aspect of Ant-Man's game. And I get that he's still super young and he's going to continue to develop, but the Timberwolves need high-level playmaking for this team. And while Ant is an incredible scorer, he doesn't provide that. And that's where Mike Conley quite simply has to be better. And if he continues to be this inefficient and struggle this much, especially at this older age in his career where he's not quite as impactful defensively as he used to be or anything like that, it puts them in a tough spot playmaking-wise. Because look, Donte DiVincenzo, again, also having a bad year, 33% from the field, 43%, less than 44% from inside the 3-point line, not having a high percentage year himself in a lot of ways, is not an elite level playmaker. I mean, he's not a great playmaking guard in his own right. He's fine, but he's not a real point guard. Nickeil Alexander-Walker also is not. I mean, he's shooting the 3-ball great and he's a good defender, but he's in that same boat where he's really not a plus playmaker. This team is in need of more playmaking to make the offense more consistent and less reliant on Ant's hot shooting. And they're in need of better play defensively from guys like Jaden McDaniels in order to be a serious contender in the Western Conference. And they're not really getting any of those things. Now, I will say this. Rob Dillingham was great tonight. 24 minutes, 12.7 assists. He is looking like the guy that could be that impact playmaking option. I think he needs to continue to play a lot of minutes. I liked that pick in the top 10, despite the fact he hasn't played much this year. I think he needs to start playing more, and he is starting to play more, and that's really, really good because the Timberwolves desperately need his playmaking ability and the level of excitement with which he plays off the bench. I feel like it adds a different element to their offense, his skill set as a point guard, and he needs to play a lot because they desperately need his playmaking ability. And the interesting thing is when you look at this roster, I mean, I like Naz Reid. I like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I like Dante DiVincenzo. Those three guys and Rob Dillingham are in theory the bench for this team with Mike Conley healthy. And that's a really good bench with four guys that I think are serious good contributors, as super capable role players who all play different skill sets and can fill a lot of valuable roles in this team. But Gobert is bad offensively. That hurts this team offensively. And I have a tough time seeing this squad with how mediocre they're playing on both ends of the court to this point in the season being a really, really serious contender in the West. And look, if they were in the East, they would be totally fine. But the Western Conference is so good and so deep. I mean, they're the 11 seed right now. And honestly, I don't think the Kings are a huge threat. I know the Kings are also struggling as that 12 seed. But outside of the Kings, the 10 teams above them, are any of those 10 teams like realistically going to fall off a lot as the season progresses? Like, I think the Warriors are going to slip, but I don't think they're going to slip to the point of being that far down in the standings. I don't think. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I think they're still going to be really good. The Thunder are incredible. The Rockets are playing great basketball, super high energy, impactful defensive team. The Grizzlies have been hooping and they're not even healthy. They're going to be good. The Suns look awesome, especially when KD's playing and he's back healthy now. The Lakers haven't been amazing in every game, but they've shown a lot of promise as well. And I feel like they're a pretty solid team. The Nuggets, the Mavs, I mean, two teams that are in the play-in right now are both, in my opinion, serious championship contenders still that are really just now starting to round into form. The Spurs look really competitive with Wemby. The Clippers are not going anywhere, it seems. Norm Powell's been awesome. At some point, they might get Kawhi Leonard back. Like, I don't know that for sure, but I think it's possible. You look at this 10-man group in the Western Conference above the Timberwolves, and it's a little worrisome. It's a lot worrisome, honestly, I think, for the Timberwolves, because I'm not saying they're going to miss the plan. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to wind up as a play-in team, but I do not see the path to finishing above the play-in in the West for the Timberwolves right now. And that's the part that I'm most concerned about, especially with how much they've been struggling recently. And when you look at their schedule, it gets no easier. That's why I was talking about in my last video how painful it was to lose games to teams like Miami, Portland twice, Toronto. Losses like that really hurt because now you're playing a gauntlet. They lose to Boston. They lose to Houston. Sacramento's a little bit of an easier game, but that's a competitive team in their own right tomorrow night. And that's going to, or tonight as y'all watch this video, that's going to be another big game. They have to win. If they lose that game, it's tough because then Clippers are not going to be easy. Lakers, Clippers, Warriors twice, Knicks, Warriors again. Atlanta's a decently easy game, but then you got Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Boston. It just does not get easier until you're decently into January for this Timberwolves team. And if that's a stretch where they play 500 to likely even slightly below 500 basketball, and you come through here in their next 4, 8, 10, 15 games, let's say their next 14 games, they go 6-8. All of a sudden, you could very seriously be looking at a Timberwolves team that would put them at 14-17, probably still put them around the 11 or 12 seed in the West and put them several games behind getting anywhere close to a top 4 seed. I'm really worried that if things don't turn around in Minnesota very quickly, this could become a lost year in a lot of ways. And it's a shame because, yes, I get they had to trade Karl-Anthony Towns financially, but they could have run it back for one more year. They could have paid some luxury tax. They would have been struggling with the cap. And I get this trade was intended to free up some future financial flexibility for this team. But when you are 2 games away from the NBA Finals playing the best basketball that your franchise has played in literal decades, if not ever, I don't get how you blow that up. And I feel like this trade has put the Timberwolves behind the 8 ball in a lot of ways, and they're going to need their role players to play better and to continue to play great. Gobert to find some stuff offensively compared to what he's been doing, and health and depth and stuff like that to perform, because they're in a really tough spot in a very tough Western Conference right now. And I would be super duper concerned about the Minnesota Timberwolves if I was a fan of this team right now. So with that being said, that's going to do it for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If y'all did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.